Yeah, but which do you think? Just looking at the numbers, these are all in different types of numbers, right? It looks like the maternal mortality rate is the most serious. Don't you think? Because the numbers look very big. But if you convert them all to percentages, what happens? You see, it's the smoking is 25%, 1 in 4. This base is 10, so 3 in 10 means 33%. Maternal mortality is actually 0.276%. Agreed. So that's not as high as smoking. But when you look at it this way, it makes you think that smoking is not that big because the numbers look small. So when data is presented to us in different ways, sometimes we can't make sense of it properly. We have to use the same denominators to be able to understand. Are people with me so far? Or am I going too fast? Please let me know if I am, okay? Where is the best place to hide a tree? In a forest. You can't find a tree in a forest, so if you put data in the middle of a lot of other numbers, the correct data is very hard to find, right? So what we're saying is, when you find things that are, you need to make a point about how important something is for somebody, we have to not try and hide it in very confusing academic talk. We have to be as simple as possible and say, if there are 4 people in the room and 4 of us are smokers, chances are one of us is going to die from cancer. That people can understand. Correct? So if you change it and you say the probability is 0 point something percent and this is the beta, people get confused. So when you want to communicate, make it impactful, make the numbers simple. Who produces food in our country? Farmers? Do we agree? 100%? Who produces health in our country? Ministry of Health? Doctors? Nurses?
Any health professional.
Sorry?
Any health professional.
Any health professional? Sorry? Environment. Doctors and nurses produce health professionals. Or is it communities that produce health? Or are they families that produce health? Families, individuals and communities are the primary producers of health. They are the ones who are the most interested in the health of the people who live within that. Agreed? A doctor or a health professional, it's their job. Family, community, it's not their job, it's what they care about deeply. Right? Yes?
Wouldn't it be a good idea to add the word behavior after communities? It's inculcated behavior that produces community.
Right, it could be, I agree with that, but it could be more than behavior too. Right? So that's why it's a broader definition. So which is the biggest category of health providers in the world? The gentleman in the back said health providers. What is the biggest number in the world? What would you say? Nurses? Sorry, you say? Mothers. You're right. Mothers. This is the largest health force in the world. And we underutilize them tremendously. Similarly, with tobacco control, you saw the influence of the mother in the video, the film. Right? Whether it's a small baby or whether it's a large teenage boy, there's a tremendous influence that a parent or a community family member plays in the life of a person. Are you more likely to start using some new treatment somebody tells you because you read it in a newspaper or because your sister told you? Much more likely to believe your sister because you believe she cares deeply about your health. Correct? So if you look at this, I'm just going to show you a simple exercise. Number of providers, and this is an exercise from the US, so bear with me. There are 4,000 providers for every 100 births attended, 4,000 providers. Household, there are 4,000 mothers. Government, there are 4 providers. Okay? Per capita expenditure, In a household, they spend $25 at least on each delivery, whereas government spends $8. Time on duty. How much time does a family member spend? 24/7, right? 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If someone is sick, they're taking care of them as much time as is needed. How much time do employees pay? 40 hours a week. Commitment, which is higher and which is lower? Family or the system? Family. Skills, which is higher and which is lower? Unfortunately, the system has higher skills than the families. So shouldn't we empower families more to be part of the solution? Agreed? Health literacy and competence. Who produces health? You look at this: nutrition, diet, salt, behaviors like smoking, etc. The whole lot of health conditions come out of it. Who influences these things? Largely families. What about, what you do at home? Safety consciousness, health behaviors, all of this, injuries. The largest influencers are people at home. So if you look at this, behavioral issues have about 40% they contribute to premature deaths in the US. We don't have a chart like this for India, but I suspect that this is getting bigger and bigger. Behavioral issues are going to be contributing more and more and more to deaths in India, whether it's heart disease or lung disease or whatever. So we need to keep an eye on what we're doing with behavior. So to go back to this, I want to rewrite this in this way. Many public health issues are not visible, they're actually invisible. The primary producers of health are not health professionals, but ordinary people. And the third thing, the goal is not to fight disease, but to enable people to promote and protect their own health. Okay? Alright. So, what do you hope to achieve through tobacco control programs? Most people here are working on tobacco control programs, correct? Everyone's nodding. What do you hope to achieve? Why are you doing what you're doing? Let's hear it. Social welfare, okay. Own well-being and family well-being, then social welfare. Okay. Why are we working on tobacco control? Who cares? Why don't people smoke? They like to smoke, let them smoke. Why let them chew tobacco? Why is it our problem? Huh?
Family and friends.
Family and friends, but what about it? Why does it affect them? I'm looking for one answer. Yes.
To make healthy atmosphere.
Environment, it will be affected, but what is the problem if the environment is affected? The other people are affected if they inhale smoke. So what if they inhale smoke? Yes.
We have 70 years worth of data telling us that it's causes death eventually.
So it comes down to that. Yeah.
Behavioral change and often leads to the behavioral change of the nation.
Right, but why do we care about behavioral change? Because we have 70 years worth of data that shows us that this behavior leads to disease and death. Right? And because people are dying and we know how to stop it if we change behaviors, we are worried about the behavior. Correct? So we have to keep in mind that big picture as to why we are doing it. And I'm going to share a little bit about something called ends and means, because I think it's very important in the work that we do. Why are we doing what we do? We're not doing just to do the task at hand, but we want to prevent something bigger. Right? So we have to keep our eye on the big thing. Which is the better thing to do? The right thing wrong or the wrong thing right? How many people think right thing wrong? Put up your hands. Right thing wrong? Right thing wrong? How many people think right thing wrong? How many people think wrong thing right? More hands. Okay, so the other night I was walking back to my hotel room and there was a place I slipped and fell and I dropped my cell phone. And it was quite dark. So later on I decided I'll go here and start looking for my cell phone. Do you think I'll find my cell phone? No. Why not? Why won't I find my cell phone here? There's light here, I can easily see here. I didn't lose it here, I lost it there. What are the chances of me finding the cell phone here? If in the light I can look clearly, so I'm looking here. What are the chances of me finding my cell phone here? 0, correct? Why is it 0? Because I didn't drop it here. But if I go here in the darkness, what are the chances of my finding it? I may still not find it, but there is a chance I'll find it, correct? Because I dropped it here. So this is the right thing wrong. This is the wrong thing right. I'm looking in the light, that's the correct thing to do. I mean, I'm doing it right. But it's the wrong thing because I didn't drop it here. If you do the wrong thing right, you'll always get it wrong. But if you do the right thing wrong, there is a chance that after a while you might get it right. Make sense? I'm sorry my Bengali isn't good enough to translate that, but the idea is that oftentimes when we are doing something that doesn't work, we continue doing it for too long and we don't actually ever get it right because we're doing the wrong thing right. If it's the wrong thing, it's the wrong thing. We shouldn't be doing it at all. Correct? Do you board a plane and decide where to go? Or you decide where to go and then buy the ticket where you want to go, right? Isn't that a better way to do it? Then why do we sometimes develop programs because that's what we have on hand, right? Without thinking of what the destination is. Shouldn't we know the destination first? So I'd like to argue, how many people have heard of this story? The elephant. The 6 blind men and the elephant. You've heard this story, right? It's an old story in India. The idea is that 6 blind men went to see an elephant and each of them was touching one part of the elephant. And one guy said, oh, the elephant is just like a fan because he was touching the ears. Another one touched the leg and said, oh, the elephant is just like a tree. Another one touched the tail and said, oh, the elephant is just like a broom. Who was correct? All of them. They were all right. Because that is all part of the elephant. Correct? What about the forest behind the elephant? Is that part of the elephant? Yes or no? Yes. Yes. Why? What will happen if the forest disappears? Elephant will have no habitat. It can't live. So the forest is also part of the elephant, if you think about it. So in a way, when we're thinking about communicating around issues like tobacco, we can't only think of one intervention. Right? Because the bigger picture is you want to reduce disease burden. That is the goal. So if you want to reduce disease burden, what are all the things that we need to do to get there? What is all part of the system? Right? The people are the part of the system. Stopping smoking is part of the system. Enforcing the law is part of the system. Tax on tobacco is part of the system. Everything is part of the system. Right? So let me quote somebody here who's my, good friend. The problems that we face cannot be solved by the same level of thinking that created them. And what do we mean by this? That if we continue to do what we're doing now, we'll get just these results. If we want something better, we have to think about how we want to change how we do it. And when you're in the frontiers of science, sharpening the question is more important than finding the answers. Right? So we have to ask better questions. Why is it that we continue to do this but it's not working? Why is it that this particular approach seems to not reach this audience? We have to ask ourselves better questions, right? Instead of trying to immediately jump to the answer, we have to find better ways to ask questions. So far better is an approximate answer to the right question than a precise answer to the wrong question. So we're going to talk just a second about a shared vision. Okay, what we mean by that is there are lots of people here with different ideas, right? Some are NGOs, some are students, some are policy makers, some are funders, some are, there's so many different people here. And some are stakeholders, and there's many of us in this room who've lost someone to cancer. We deeply feel about it. And how do we all bring our interests together? There's a saying that says when a carpenter has a hammer in his hand, everything looks like a nail. You know what that means? That means that if you're a person who's a policy maker, everything looks like a policy problem. If you're a person who's an advertising agency, everything looks like a communication problem. So you come with a ready-made solution and think that that is the one that needs to be applied. Correct? So we want to look at it from a point of view as like collectively, what is it we want to do together? What is the big goal, the vision? We want less people in India to be dying of cancers related to tobacco. Is that a big vision? Reduction in the number of people. Ideally 0 people dying from cancers related to tobacco. If that is your vision, then what all has to be done in order to achieve that vision? And each person in this room may contribute to that vision in a different way. Right? Some people may be able to do community work. Some people may be able to work in a community radio station. Other people may be peer educators. Some people may make policies. Others may find funding. Right? So there's different pieces. So look at different ways you can contribute to that bigger goal, and not a personal vision, because that is what do I want to happen, but a shared vision that says what do we want to happen, what do we want to create, right? So you know Martin Luther King, right? Famous civil rights activist. So when he had this big vision, he said, I have a dream. You know this, I think many of you know this speech. It was an impassioned speech. It was very, very powerful. And he said, I have a dream. So we have a dream that one day India will have 0 deaths due to tobacco-related issues. That is our dream. He didn't say, I have a strategic plan. That would not have been as powerful. So we are focused on our strategic plans without thinking of the dream. But our strategic plans have to contribute to that dream. If they don't make sense.